Hey there and welcome back to the channel. So in the previous video we worked on adding our contacts to Firebase and we successfully added 2 contacts. So these are the contacts we added in the previous video, and in this video we'll be looking at how to retrieve these contacts from Firebase, edit and then delete them. So let's get right into the video. So back in our home page, the first thing we want to do is to convert our stateless widget into a stateful widget, and now we'll create a variable under our state that will point to our contact collection in Firestore. So I'm going to create a variable called contacts collection, and that will connect to Firebase Firestore. So Firebase firestore.instance, and there is our whole database. Then we want a collection, and then we pass in the name of our collection. So in this case our collection is called contacts. So this contacts collection variable here refers to our contact collection. Now, depending on how you want to fetch the data in this contact collection, you may use 2 methods. So we have get and we have snapshot. Now the difference between the get method and the snapshot is the get returns a future and then the snapshot returns a stream. So when you want your data to be live, so in real time, when something happens in the database, you want to automatically rebuild your UI to show that change, then you would have to go for the snapshot. But if you are looking at getting data once and then the user would have to perform another action before you fetch the data again, then you would have to go for the get method. So this is going to return as a stream, and a stream is just a data that can change constantly. So when anything happens to the data in our database, this stream will be updated and then we can get that data live. We don't have to refresh our app or do any other operation before we see the changes. So in this case, when someone adds a contact, we want to update the UI instantly. We don't want the user to refresh or perform any extra action before the newly added contact shows up in the home page, and because of that we are going for the snapshot. But in a case where let's say you are getting details for the user profile or something that doesn't change often, then you go for the get method. Again, when you use the get method, you are going to have a future. Therefore you use a widget called future builder to build your UI. If you go for the stream, which is the snapshot, there is a widget for that, which is a stream builder. So within our body, because we want to have this contact collection in our body, we are going to use a stream builder widget, and then the builder is a function that returns the widget we want to build, right? So for now I'm going to return a text widget and then say something like data. So when I save, we have the data on our screen. Now this stream builder expects a stream, which is the data we are listening to. So I'm going to pass in my contact collection, which is the stream. So when we hover, I realize we are having a stream of query snapshots, which is of type map, string and dynamic, and you realize that the data we passed to Firebase was of type map, string and also dynamic. So within our builder, this snapshot is what holds our data, right? And we don't want to return just the text data. We want to return different states. So this snapshot can exist in different states. We can have when we are loading, that's the loading state. We can have an error state, and we can have some other states as well. but what you'll be focusing on mostly, or most of the time, you'll be dealing with either error, loading, or when you actually have the data. So instead of returning a text which has data just in it, we are going to use an if statement to return something different. So we can first check if this snapshot has data. So there is it has data property, and this will return to true if we have finished successfully, if we have successfully fetched our contacts from the Firebase, right? So that's the stream we are getting. So if we have data, then for now we just want to return a text that says we have data. If else, if an error occurs, so if snapshot dot has error, then we can return something else. So we can return a center widget, and then the child will be a text that says there was an error. Now if we are not having our data, we are not having an error, then obviously we are loading. So we are going to return a center widget, and the child is going to be a circle progress indicator dot adaptive, right? So when we save, we see our circle progress indicator. So if I hot restart, we should see our circle progress indicator before our data appears, right? And if it's not working, it's just because our data has already been cached. So Firebase has this caching mechanism, right? So it doesn't make multiple queries, so our data is being cached and it's returning instantly. Now realize we are in the data state. Now within the data state, we can get our document. So that's the document we added, and I'm going to create a variable for that document. So just before the return statement, I'm going to create a variable which is of type list, and then a list of type query document snapshot, and that's going to be our document. And I'm going to set it to our snapshot dot data dot docs. So there is our document, the list of documents we have. Now if the document is empty, that means the user has not created any contact yet. We want to return a different UI, right? So if our document is empty, then it means we don't have anything in our contact collection. So we want to return a center widget, and the child is going to be a text that says no contact yet. And we can give it some styling, so I'm going to add a style to it. If this is not true, which means we have some documents, then we want to return a different widget. So we want to return a list view of all our contacts. So instead of returning just a text, we are going to return a list view builder. And our item count is going to be our document dot length. Also within our item builder, we are going to return the widget we want to build. So I'm going to return a list style And when I save, we shouldn't see anything on our screen yet because the lister has nothing. Now we can access our individual documents from this document. So just within the item builder, but before the return, we can have a variable that is our data. So let's say final contact, that's a specific contact document, and then we set it to our document index. So we're accessing that particular contact dot data. So the actual data of that particular contact is in this data, right? And it's not just in the document. So it's not just by accessing this document, but it's in this data, because there are other properties on the document such as the ID. So we can get the contact ID, which is the unique ID Firestore automatically generates for us when you use the add method. So our document index dot ID, and this is of type string. So when I hover, we should see a string here. So this returns us the actual contact data, and now this is of type object, a nullable object, right? But we don't want to work with nullable objects, so we have to cast this to map of string and dynamic. So I'm going to do a casting here as map string and dynamic. Right, so now our data, which is a contact, is of type map string and dynamic. Now we can get the name from this contact. So final string name, which is the name of this particular contact, and that will be equal to our contact, and we are accessing the name field from it, right? Also we can get the email, which is equal to our contact, then the email field, as well as our phone field, which is our contact and then phone. So we can display this in our UI, right? Also we want to generate an avatar, so I'm going to use an API. So final string avatar, or there is no need for specifying the type. Okay, this is of type dynamic, so we can explicitly specify this type. So our avatar will be equal to a URL which point to dice bear, and we are going to add the name of this user plus png. Right, and as you can see, we get a little avatar here. So let's use these variables. So in the list style, we are going to have a title, which will be a text widget, and then the name of this person or these contacts. So when I save, realize we have the name here. Also our subtitle, which is the text just below the name, is going to be a text which will have our phone number, so phone, and then the next line we are going to have our email. So just like this, and now we have this, right? Again, in our trailing, we are going to have a row, and then the main axis size is going to be main axis size dot main, and the children of this row will be two icon buttons. The first icon is going to be the edit icon, so we added the iconly package, and I'm going for the edit icon, and when I save, we have our edit icon here, and the other icon is going to be our delete icon. So I'm going to copy this and change it to delete. Right, so these are the icons we have. We can change the splash radius to 24 for both of them. Right, so the first functionality we'll be implementing here is the delete functionality. So we have to create a function that actually does that for us. So back under our state, I'm coming to create a function that will delete a particular contact. So I'm going to call it delete contact, and this function will take in a string of ID. Now this ID is the unique identifier for a particular contact, so we are going to delete the contact based on its ID. And the reason why we are using the ID is because it's the only thing that is unique for each contact, right? So we can find a contact by its ID and then delete it. Also, we have to make this function asynchronous because we'll be dealing with a database. So we are going to call await Firebase firestore.instance, which is our database, then the contact collection, so just our contact collection here, not this but contacts, and we have to get that particular document we want to delete. So we can use the doc and then pass in our ID. So this will retain as a single document, but we don't want to do anything with this document, we just want to delete it. So we can call the delete method on it, and this will delete that particular document. And because we are using a stream here, as soon as this delete function gets called and the document is successfully deleted, the UI will automatically get rebuilt. Also, we want to show a snack bar to the user that our contact has been successfully deleted. So I'm going to the scaffold messenger that's off context that shows snack bar, and we have to pass in the snack bar, so the snack bar widget, and this will take a content, and our content is going to be a text which states contact deleted. And if you have this warning, do not use async build context across async gaps, you can wrap this in an if statement. So just like we did previously, if mounted, then we can perform this, right? So this is our delete contact function. Now in order to use it, when we press on this icon button which has the icon delete, we want to call our delete contact function and then pass in our ID, and our ID is our contact ID, so that's the document's ID, right? And now let's test this functionality. So I'm going to delete the Kofi Asamoah, and when I tap on it, you realize it gets deleted, and we get our contact deleted snack bar. I'm also going to delete the German dev, and now you see we have our no contacts yet because of the document that is empty that is here. Right now, let's add a new contact, and the name is going to be and the phone is going to be 020. Right, so the email is going to be an@gmail.com, and let's add this contact. So realize that just after adding the contact, we see the contact here because of our snapshot, which is a stream, and as soon as data is added, it automatically rebuilds the UI. Now the next thing is we want to edit this contact, and the edit page must look just like the add contact page. And also we didn't use our avatar, so back here we can have in the list we can have our leading, and that's going to be a circle avatar, right? And then we can pass in a background image which takes in a network image, and then our URL is going to be our avatar. So when we save, this should give us a random avatar for Anne based on her name. Right now we can try again by creating a different contact. So Miss Lucy, right, and we see the Lucy here. Right now the next thing is the edit functionality, and as I said, our edit page must just look like our add contact page. So let's first go to our add contact and then dispose this controllers. So I'm going to call dispose and dispose each of these controllers. So the first one is going to be our name controller that dispose. Right, and the reason why we are doing that is when we leave the add contact page, we don't want to keep this controller still running. Now I'm going to copy everything that is here and then in my pages folder I'm coming to create a new page called edit contact page .dat, and I'm going to paste the same thing here. Now we are going to have the same controllers, but let's first clear this add contact function, and instead of that we are going to have one that is edit contact. Right, and now we can pass that edit contact to instead of add contact, so edit contact. Now when a user taps on this button, we want to pass this user's data to the edit contact page, so that by the time you get to the edit contact page you already have the user's data there, and the only thing you have to do is to edit it. So back in the home page, when we tap on this edit contact icon button, we want to navigate to the edit contact page. So navigator.push, and our route is going to material page route. we are going to return our edit contact page, and we have to rename it. So instead of add contacts, we are going to rename it to edit contacts. Right, so in the edit contact page, we can also change the title to edit contact. And now when we tap on this button, this should take us to the edit contact page, but I realize we are not having our name, phone and email there, right? So let's first pass those details to the edit contact page. So under the stateful widgets, I'm going to require those information. So I'm going to require first the ID or the avatar. Also, I'm going to require the name, the phone, and that's and then the email as well. So let me generate the constructor for this. And now you realize we have an error in our home page. So let's go to our home page and then pass in these values. So in the edit contact page, we can pass in our avatar to be our avatar, our name, our phone and our email, right? So now whenever we go to any of these pages, we are going to have our avatar, name, phone and email. Now in our edit contact page, we want to set the default value for our text controllers as the values we are passing in. So in order to do that, let's first change the implementation of our controllers. So we are first going to have late variables for each of the controller, and we are not going to initialize them straight away. So I'm going to copy this like this. So this is how controllers are going to be, and I'm going to replace the names like this and also declare this. So we are going to remove it like this. And now in the init state, we are going to pass in this values as our default value for our controllers. So under the edit contact, I'm going to create an init state, and I'm going to set the name controller to a text editing controller, and then I'm going to pass in the default text. So the text is going to be our widget dot name, right? So in this case, when our name controller gets initialized, the default text is going to be the name we are passing to this widget. And I'm going to do same for the remaining controllers. So I'm going to copy and paste these values, and then this is going to be widget.phone and this is going to be widget.email. So now let's test it out. When we tap on the edit contact, we realize that we have our name, email and phone number already there, right? And we can also change this to edit contact, right? So when we tap on it, we have edit contact, and we can also change the icon to edit, maybe the square version, right? Good. So this is what we are having. Now I want to display the user's avatar here as well. So in the column before the text field, we are going to have our avatar in a center widget, because we want it to be in the center of our column. So first have a center widget, and the child is going to be a circle avatar, just like we did previously, but then the radius is going to be 60, and our background image is going to be a network image, and then the URL is going to be widget.avatar. And also we must have some space, so size a box of height 20. Now when we save, we have our user profile here, so when we tap on it, we get our user profile here. Now I want to perform a transition between this profile, so I'm going to wrap this in a hero widget, and the tag is going to be the ID, right? So let's record the ID. So the tag is going to be the ID, which is widget.id. Now in our home page, let's also wrap our circle avatar in a hero widget, and give it the same ID. So our ID is going to be our contact ID. Now let's pass our ID as our contact ID. Now in this case, there will be a transition, so we have to restart. So there is going to be a transition when we navigate, right? So there is this transition when we navigate between the user profiles, right? Now in the edit contact page, this is where we're performing our edits, right? So back in the edit contact page, we've created a function for editing the contacts, and just like how we deleted the contacts, it's just the same way. So we first have to get access to that particular document we want to edit. So before we perform any edits, we have to make sure that our validation that we set up for adding the contact is still working, because we don't want the user to edit the contact by setting the name field to an empty string, right? So let's first check if our form key dot current state dot validate, if this is true, then only we are going to edit. So we can wrap this in a try catch, right? And then we will only catch for Firebase exception. Then we will show a snack bar to the user that something went wrong. So scaffold messenger the show snack bar of context first, the show snack bar, then we can pass now snack bar with the content as a text, then failed to edit contact. Now within our try block, this is where we perform the edit. So we are going to await Firebase firestore dot instance dot collection and the name of our collection, which is our contact collection dot document, and the document we are looking for is our ID, so our widget.id, and then we want to call the update method and passing the new data I want to update with. So just like we created the document, it's just going to be the same thing. Our name is going to be our name controller dot text dot trim. Our phone is also going to be our phone controller dot text dot trim. Our email is so going to be our email controller dot text dot trim. And if everything is successful, we want to go back to the previous page, right? So we can do navigator dot pop, and we pass in our context, right? So if this doesn't work, you can just wrap it in an if statement and check if it's mounted. Then we perform this operation. So this is what it takes to edit or update a document in Firestore, and this data can be any data. You just have to match what you are updating. So let's check it out. Instead of Miss Lucy, I'm going to change the name to Miss Dinah, right? And I'm going to edit this contact, and we can see that the name immediately changes to Miss Dinah, and the profile also changes because we are using the name for the profile. We can also add contacts, so name Jaron, and then the email is going to be jaron@gmail.com, and we can add this contact, right? And realize that we have the name here. We can edit it, right? So instead of Jaron Esiedo, or instead of even the email, we can say someone@gmail.com, and when we tap on edit contact, realize that the name changes to someone@gmail.com, and all of this is happening instantly, right? So yeah, this is the CRUD operation with Firebase, and I hope you enjoyed this series very much. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and let me know what you think in the comments. If there is something you didn't get, or there is something you want me to go over, also let me know what you want me to create next, and I'll do that. So see you guys in the next one. Bye.